What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. It is week 14 of fantasy hockey, and what that means is we're going to go over the teams with the best and worst schedules, the streamers to help you maximize your games, some new power play updates, and some must-add players. Starting off, let's look at the schedule here. Pretty typical: Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday being those off nights, and then Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday being those heavy nights. Now, the teams with the most off nights this week are the Vancouver Canucks and the Washington Capitals. They have 4 games and 3 off nights, and that's going to be really good for maximizing your games. You also have some other solid options. You have the Carolina Hurricanes, the Colorado Avalanche, and the Seattle Kraken having 4 games and 2 off nights. And as you see below, there's some teams with 3 games and 2 off nights as well, and some teams with 4 games and 1 off night. On the flip side, the teams with the least amount of games are the New York Islanders and the Nashville Predators, both only having 2 games and 0 off nights. Picking up players from these teams is not going to be ideal for your matchup this week. Moving on, let's talk about some easy and hard schedules. I've introduced a new section for this weekly video, and we're going to be looking at the easiest and hardest schedules for skaters, those being forwards and defensemen, and also the easiest and hardest schedules for goalies. Starting off with the opponent goals against average, this is what we normally do. It's the easiest schedule for forwards and defensemen. These are the teams that play teams that let in a lot of goals this week. So as you guys can see, the teams with the highest opponent goals against average for this week are the Edmonton Oilers, the Dallas Stars, the Columbus Blue Jackets, and the Washington Capitals. On the flip side, the teams that play teams this week that don't let in a lot of goals, which isn't ideal for forwards and defensemen, are the Nashville Predators, the New York Rangers, the Calgary Flames, the Philadelphia Flyers, and the Montreal Canadiens. Moving on to the new section, which is the easiest and hardest schedule for goalies. What we look at here is an opponent's goals per game. So, for example, the Oilers have the easiest schedule for goalies because the teams they are playing don't generally score a lot of goals. As you guys can see, the Oilers, the Knights, the Red Wings, the Utah Hockey Club, the Capitals, the Blue Jackets, and the Flames have a pretty solid schedule for their goalies. There's a good chance that the goalies on these teams do pretty well this week. On the flip side, the teams that have the hardest schedule for goalies this week are the Predators, the Bruins, the Penguins, the Canadiens, the Rangers, the Canucks, and the Islanders. There's a chance that the goalies on these teams don't do the best this week. Moving on, let's talk about some streamers. Like I told you, the best streamers are going to come from the Canucks and the Capitals because of those 3 off nights, those being on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Before we talk about these streamers, I quickly want to give a shout out to GiddyUpSports.com. GiddyUpSports.com is a free tool that allows you to sync your Yahoo League and automate the waiver wire. This means you can schedule ads days or even weeks in advance, so you gain a massive edge against your competition. No longer do you have to set an alarm in the morning to ensure you get that player for the week. No, all you have to do is use GiddyUpSports.com. Now, in the leagues that I'm in, none of the best players are available, guys that are in the top 6 and on the Powerplay 1. So I can't show you me scheduling an ad for those players specifically. But still, because of these 3 off nights, I want to pick up a player for this week. And I think Alexi Protas could be a solid option. He's in the top 6. His ice time is good. I'm going to get those 3 off nights. So all I'm going to do is use GiddyUpSports to schedule an ad for Monday at 3 in the morning. I'm going to drop a player, swap them for Protas, and now I can ensure that I get him for the week. That's right, guys. It's simple as that. It's a cheat code in fantasy. It gives you a massive edge against your competition. There's more info in the comments, and make sure you head over to GiddyUpSports.com to use this awesome tool. Now, just to speak on these streamers real quick, for the Canucks, obviously the best options are probably unavailable. Besser could be available in a more shallow league. DeBrusk and Garland are actually below 60% rostered and are both on the Powerplay 1 right now with Elias Pettersson out. So those are definitely good options, especially DeBrusk if your league values hits because he puts up solid peripherals. Kiefer Sherwood, obviously, if you're in a category league, a banners league, or any type of league that counts hits, he is a monster. So he is very solid if he's available. And I've included Tyler Myers on here because Quinn Hughes is injured, and with this injury, Myers is on the Powerplay 1. However, Quinn Hughes is close to returning, so there is a chance Myers is worthless this week if Hughes comes back on Monday, but if not, he could be a solid option for those 3 off nights. With the Capitals, there's definitely some solid options. The Powerplay 1 guys are Ovechkin, Tom Wilson, Jacob Chychrun, John Carlson, and Dylan Strome. Wilson, I think, is the lowest roster percentage of those players, so there is a chance he's available. And then you have some other guys that aren't Powerplay 1, but still get solid ice time. Connor McMichael, Pierre-Luc Dubois, and Alexi Protas. There's also some other guys that put up solid peripherals, Martin Faravari, Matt Roy, etc. Ultimately, it depends on your league settings, but those 3 off nights are key for maximizing your games and in turn, maximizing your fantasy points. Because they play on a heavy night, you don't have to hold these players for the entire week, but you can pick them up today if you're watching this on Sunday or Monday, and then drop them Saturday to get those 3 off nights. Moving on to the players with 4 games and 2 off nights this week, you have the Carolina Hurricanes, the Colorado Avalanche, and the Seattle Kraken. You can pick up players from the Avalanche and the Kraken for the entire week to get these off nights, but for the Hurricanes, you don't have to pick them up to start the week. This is because they play Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, so you really don't have to pick up these players until the weekend. Now, in terms of the streamers, it depends on your league settings and how many teams are in your league. Hurricanes, there's never the best options. They're pretty top heavy. The Avalanche, I think there's some really solid options here. Jonathan Drouin is very low, has a very low roster percentage, I should say. Lehkonen, Colton, Middlestat. Middlestat's a guy that's on Powerplay 1 right now. And then with the Kraken, there's always a ton of options that are low roster percentage. Guys like Jaden Schwartz is a guy that you could pick up and get those 2 off nights. Yeah, it really just depends on your league settings, but definitely some solid options among these teams. Now, I just talked about some streamers that you could hold for the entire week, but I want to give you some streaming strategies in case you don't want to pick up players for the entire week and you just want to utilize them in a very short period to get those off nights. Starting off, we could look at teams that play Monday and Wednesday, those both being off nights, and that gives you the opportunity to pick them up on Monday and drop them Thursday. These are going to be players from the Avalanche or the Florida Panthers. You could definitely utilize a streaming strategy to gain some off nights, and another streaming strategy that you could utilize is picking up players on Wednesday and dropping them Saturday. These are teams that play Wednesday and Friday, both off nights. So you're going to get those 2 off nights, help you maximize your games. And those players are going to be from either the Chicago Blackhawks, the Los Angeles Kings, or the Utah Hockey Club. The last streaming strategy is picking up players on Friday and dropping them Monday. So picking them up for the weekend, getting those 2 off nights on Friday and Sunday. And those are going to be players from the Hurricanes or the Detroit Red Wings. Next up, let's talk about some power play updates. I'm going to go through this pretty quick. We have with the Anaheim Ducks, Jackson Lacombe being on Powerplay 1. They went back to Zellweger for a second, but then they scratched him. And Lacombe seems to be the guy that they favor the most on all the defensemen there. So Lacombe is certainly a solid add. With the Bruins, they are bad to a normal Powerplay 1 with McAvoy. With the Sabres, they still have Rasmus Dahlin, Thompson, Peterka, Quinn, and Zucker on the first power play unit, meaning that Tuck is still not on the first unit, which is mind-boggling to me. But hey, Jason Zucker has been a dog. He's been incredible, so I understand. With the Carolina Hurricanes, Ty Smith is still power play 1 with Shane Gostisbehere out, but he puts up 0 peripherals, and his even strength ice time is terrible, so not really a viable option unless you're in a super deep league. With the Blackhawks, you have Ryan Donato back on Powerplay 1, so that's definitely good for his value. A guy that puts up solid peripherals. He was great early on in the year. That means Frank Nazar is Powerplay 2. With the Avalanche, Drouin is Powerplay 1, but with Nichushkin out, they have Middlestat on Powerplay 1 right now. So for this week, Middlestat could be a solid option. Drouin is also a player who I think is a long-term add. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Then with the Red Wings, we have Patrick Kane and DeBrincat still Powerplay 1. With the Panthers, we have Samoskevich on Powerplay 1 and Verhaeghe on Powerplay 2. Don't know what they're doing. They've done this once before a couple of weeks ago, but only lasted like 2 games. I'll keep you guys updated. Obviously not the best news for Verhaeghe. With the Los Angeles Kings, Quinton Byfield and Clark are still Powerplay 1. With the Minnesota Wild, Brock Faber is now Powerplay 1 because Jared Spurgeon is out long-term. Not sure how long Spurgeon will be out, but Faber definitely has had a stock increase with this injury news. We also have Marco Rossi still Powerplay 1 with Kaprizov out, but Kaprizov will be returning soon, so just a short-term bump for him. With the Devils, we don't have a change here, but I just wanted to mention that Dougie Hamilton is still Powerplay 1. I have a sneaky suspicion that this is going to change soon. I'll talk about that in a bit. With the Islanders, we have Dobson, Barzell, Horvat, Duclair, and Anders Lee on Powerplay 1. Then with the Rangers, Alexi Lafreniere was put on Powerplay 1 last week, which is why I said he was a must-add player. But we actually saw on Saturday that Zibanejad replaced him mid-game. So Zibanejad could be back on this top unit Good news for him, not so good news for Lafreniere. Then with the Sharks, Jake Wallman is still out. He was placed on IR. And with him being out, they've mixed up the power play units quite a bit. Zetterlund was on the top unit for a second there, but last game it was Will Smith. We will see what happens long term. Then looking at the second page here, the St. Louis Blues are splitting their power play units. I don't understand why they're doing this. I don't expect it to last, but with this power play, I believe they have Kyrou and Holloway on power play 2, and then they have Thomas and Buchnevich power play 1. They're splitting the usage evenly, so it doesn't really matter, but definitely not ideal for those top players. With the rest of the teams here, Matthews is back, which means Matthew Nyes is on power play 2 now. With the Canucks, they have DeBrusk and Garland power play 1 with Elias Pettersson out, and they also have Myers power play 1 with Quinn Hughes out. Those guys are not dealing with long-term injuries, so this is only short-term. Finally, with the Capitals, Chychrun is still power play 1. They are running 2 defensemen on this top unit, Chychrun and Karlsson, and that means Chychrun could be really good for the rest of the year. Before we talk about the forward ads, I quickly want to give a shout out to Drafters Fantasy Sports. This is a daily fantasy sports app where you can do best ball drafts and pick'ems on the NHL, NFL, NBA, and more. It's available in all of Canada, including Ontario and most US states. And you can use my promo/referral code FIREDUP for 100% match deposit up to $100. This is only for first-time users, guys. Make sure you download the app, use that referral code when signing up, and you can get that bonus money that you can use on these best ball drafts and these pick'ems. Finally, let's talk about some forward ads. A lot of these players, I just think their roster percentage is too low, specifically on Yahoo. So these are the players that I want to discuss. We have Valeri Nichushkin. I understand he's injured, but his roster percentage is still 60% on Yahoo. If he is healthy, I guarantee this is going to skyrocket to like 80 or 90% in the next month or so. So if you're thinking about adding Nichushkin or stashing him, I suggest you do it. Next, we have Kirill Marchenko. Marchenko's roster percentage is skyrocketed. It's almost 80%. Thankfully, people are understanding how good this guy is. I've been such a big fan of him for the last 2 years now, and he's finally breaking out. And I still think his roster percentage is too low. I think it should be like 90 to 95%. I understand there's some dead leagues, so that could be a factor. But if you're considering picking him up, you need to do it before it's too late. Next, you have Brian Rust. I just think his roster percentage is way too low. It's something like 47% on Yahoo. Definitely worth a look, depending on your league size, of course. Matthew Barzal, I think his roster percentage is too low. I think it should be around 80%. It's around 66% right now, so certainly worth a look. His ice time and deployment is elite. Joel Eriksson-Ek, this is absolutely a must-add player. He's a buy low, bounce-back player. I believe he had 2 points last night. And when everybody's healthy, like Kaprizov, this power play is going to start producing. Eriksson-Ek could be top line with Cap and Boldy. But even if he's not, he's going to be in the top 6. Getting elite ice time, putting up elite peripherals. It's a no-brainer, guys. Eriksson-Ek is absolutely worth rostering in most leagues. Moving down, we have Nazem Kadri. I know he's a pure C, but regardless of this, his roster percentage is something like 55%. This is a player that gets elite ice time and puts up elite peripherals, so he's certainly worth a look, and I do think this roster percentage should be higher. With some other guys who I think should absolutely have a higher roster percentage, you have Jonathan Drouin of the Colorado Avalanche and Dmitry Voronkov of the Columbus Blue Jackets. With Drouin, he's a line 1, power play 1. I know his peripherals are terrible, but his ice time is elite, and he's going to have some great games in some big weeks. And then Voronkov, he's getting elite ice time, guys. They are running these top guys heavy. Monahan, Voronkov, Marchenko line is insane. They're running the power play 1 with good usage, and he's putting up solid peripherals as well. So at 30% rostered, he is a must-add forward. Next, we have Patrick Kane. Kane is a guy that I understand he's older, he's 36 now, but with this coaching change, he's back on power play 1, and those top guys being Larkin, DeBrincat, Raymond, and Kane are all producing. His roster percentage is 45%, which is way too low. Next, we have Dylan Holloway. Don't like how the Blues are splitting their power play units, but regardless, Holloway is getting great ice time. His production has been fantastic, and he's putting up really good peripherals as well. He's shooting the puck a ton. He's putting up a lot of hits. And as long as he's getting this ice time with these peripherals, I do think he is underrated. Next, you have Jason Zucker of the Buffalo Sabres. I want to preface this with saying that I do believe Zucker's production is currently unsustainable, extremely high shooting percentage. He will cool down, guys. That's just a fact. But what also is a fact is that he's line one, power play one, getting elite ice time and putting up solid peripherals. So currently with his roster percentage of like 25%, he is a must-add player that needs to be higher rostered. We also have Troy Terry here. Amazing ice time, playing better. Won't have the best peripherals, but I do think he is underrated if you're looking at his roster percentage. And then finally, we have Quinton Byfield. Byfield, his ice time has shot up in the last couple of weeks. He's back on power play one. He's looking good out there. And I do think he's worth a look depending on your league size. With the second batch of forwards, these are deeper league ads, leagues that have 12 teams or more. We have Ryan Donato, solid peripherals, back on power play one. Certainly worth a look. JJ Peterka, I understand Peterka has been disappointing as of late. I don't love how he's not shooting the puck. And we've also seen him have wishy-washy ice time recently. He had 11 minutes in one game 2 nights ago. So, yes, I have my concerns, but regardless, he's in the top 6 and he's back on power play one. So, he could be worth a look. We also have another Buffalo Sabre who has a much lower roster percentage, and that player is Jack Quinn. I believe his Yahoo roster percentage is 3%. And this is a player that is back on power play one. And this power play one gets heavy usage. So certainly worth a look as well. We also have Tyler Bertuzzi, who is playing better, still power play one, putting up solid peripherals. We have Victor Olofsson, who is power play one. Bad peripherals, guys, but still underrated. And then we have Jaden Schwartz. Great ice time, great protection. As long as he's getting the ice time that he's getting, he is certainly underrated. And we also have Michael Bunting. Bunting is a guy who's getting more power play time with the way the Penguins are running their units. That 1A, 1B situation favors those power play 2 guys like Bunting. So he's getting more ice time because of this, and his production has been better as well. So definitely worth a look in a deeper league. All right, moving on, let's talk about some defensemen. Jacob Chychrun, he is still power play one. He is playing great. In a more shallow league, I do think he's worth a look if he is available. We have Aaron Ekblad, who hasn't produced. I get it, guys, but he's still power play one. So as long as he's power play one, he should be good. We have Seth Jones, who is back. He's healthy. He's power play one. I know the Blackhawks are a dumpster fire, but he gets elite deployment and puts up great peripherals, and I do think his roster percentage should be a little higher than what it currently is. Then we have Cam Fowler of the St. Louis Blues. This one's obvious, you know, in any serious league, he's been scooped up. But yeah, he's getting good even strength ice time. He's getting good power play time. He's producing, and he's shooting the puck and putting up blocks. Definitely worth a look if you need a defenseman. Then we have Jackson Lacombe. This guy has been playing great. Good power play time. He's on power play one again. Good even strength ice time. Good peripherals. Super low roster percentage. Absolutely a must-add defenseman considering how low his roster percentage is. Then we have Tyler Myers, who is currently power play one with Quinn Hughes out. This is only short-term, guys. Hughes could return on Monday, and then this would be an absolute wash. But if Quinn Hughes is out for another week, then Myers could be a good short-term ad or stream. Then finally, we have Ty Smith. Only a super deep league ad, guys. The peripherals are terrible. The even strength ice time is terrible, but he is still power play one. So definitely worth a look in a deep league. Also, one last player I wanted to mention here is Luke Hughes of the New Jersey Devils. I didn't want to include him on the official list because he's not power play one yet, and there's no guarantee that he gets it. But I have a feeling he's going to get on power play one sooner or later. So please keep an eye on Luke Hughes, and as soon as he gets on power play one, you should probably pick him up. All right, finally, let's talk about some goalie ads. Mackenzie Blackwood has to be on this list still. Amazing volume, playing great. Darcy Kemper is a player who I think has too low of a roster percentage, and he's playing really good lately. And you have Sam Montembeault. He's getting the volume. The Canadians are playing better. He will be streaky, though, and I'm sure he's going to have a bad stretch of games soon. But still, I had to include him. We also have Karel Vejmelka, who's still the #1 goalie on Utah, playing well. We have Destin Wolf, who has seen more starts lately, playing better. We have Kevin Lankinen of the Canucks. Demko is injured, but it's only day-to-day, so this could just be a nothing burger, but we do know that Demko has a huge question mark around him, so Lankinen could be a speculative ad in a deeper league. And then with the rest of these goalies here, we have Elvis from the Blue Jackets. He is going to be streaky. He is going to be risky to start, but he's getting that volume, and the Blue Jackets look good and are scoring a lot of goals. So, yeah, he's a volume play pretty much. We also have Yaroslav Askarov, who is outplaying Georgiev and could gain more starts. I mean, they just beat the Devils with Askarov in net. He looks better out there. Could be worth a look if you really need a goalie. Also, one last goalie I forgot to include here. We just got the news that Linus Ullmark is out week to week. And with this injury, this means that Anton Forsberg is likely going to be the #1 goalie. So if you need a goalie, Forsberg could be a good stream for the next couple of weeks. All right, guys, that is the end of the video. Hit that like button if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I will catch you in the next one.